Voices from the Mausoleum is brought to you by the You Run Podcast Network and yourunpodcast.com.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Voices from the Mausoleum, and welcome to an episode of 5 Influential Horror, a series where we talk to all kinds of horror people about their 5 influential movies in the horror genre and why they picked them. Today, I'm joined again by Marco Parra from, we know him from, Steve and I know him from Horror in the High Desert, Firewatch. And technically Minerva too, which I always forget about at first. I'm like, oh yeah, no, you're in Minerva too. Introduction. So I wanted to ask you before we jump into your list, what's it feel like now that Firewatch is finally out?
It is crazy. Oh my goodness. It is on. And by the way, I myself forget that I'm in 2. I'm in Minerva also sometimes. Someone reminded me the other day, like, remember you were in 2 as well, and I was like, yeah, yes,
yeah, exactly. To set up 3, right? But it's like,
it was like a setup. But the fans or the people that love the film are just so amazing, so supportive. We had a specialty drink made for the film at shout out to Horror Vibes Cafe in Burbank in Los Angeles, and it's been amazing. I've loved every second of it, and I'm very surprised, honestly. I knew like the franchise was very beloved, but to be a part of it and to feel the energy is very cool.
I love that. Yeah, Steve and I got screeners from Dutch. And so we already had seen it, but we're really pumped about for it to be out, because people that are fans of it are like chomping at the bit to see it. And so it was funny because I think both of us on Twitter got tagged in multiple posts when it came out, because people know that we're like we do a lot of found footage and we're really big fans of the franchise Horror in the High Desert. And so it was so funny because I was like, I already seen it. But it was I was like, you're going to love it. Go watch it. You're going to love Oscar. You're going to be so invested in the story, and it's going to be so fun to see. And people, like the stuff, people are loving it. Like and of course they're already like, when's the next one coming out?
Exactly.
They're so invested, which is good.
That's what I was going to say. You're probably like, oh, we're ready for 4 now. We've already seen 3. So. But honestly, actually what I was going to say is that you guys kind of set it off for me. Like, it was the first kind of feeling of what it was going to be like when the film was released. Aww. Because I had no idea about anything. And then, someone pointed out, hey, they're talking about Firewatch on this show. And I was like, wait, what? And that's how I got introduced to you guys. And so it was like a awesome, like, kind of, you guys like popped my Horror in the High Desert cherry, if you will.
I love that. That's I'm using that to promote this episode. I love that. Yeah, and we had such a great time, talking with you, because we really did, like I said, we're fans of the franchise in general, but we both, like, even before we talked to you about it, we were both just like, this character, like, we were just so into it. And so, when you had shared something on your story, and I was like, well, while we have your attention, I'm just going to slide in here and ask if you want to come on the channel.
Awesome.
It was great. No, we had such a great time. And I know we talked about doing something else. And so Influential is essentially the series that kind of was the first series I ever did with the channel when I was just by myself. And it was the first series where I really started even engaging with other people in the community, because I just did a lot of stuff by myself. I was kind of, I think, more scared to like put myself out there. But then that kind of grew into this big thing, and there were a lot of people at that time interested in it. And it just kind of turned into like this regular thing. So it's always super cool to sit down and talk to all kinds of, especially people I feel who work in the genre or who have done work in the genre, because it's always interesting to see where people's heads kind of go with horror and what they like and don't like, and what kind of speaks to them. So those kind of conversations, I was like, yeah, definitely got to come back for Influential, right? Because that's like the thing here. So I'm really glad. So thank you for agreeing to come back and do this, because I'm excited about it.
I mean, I cannot be tempted with a good time and say no ever.
I'll take it. I'll take the compliment. Yeah, and I also just wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about some stuff you've been doing, because you've been busy, like very busy. I've been paying attention to your Instagram, and we've been chatting about, you've been doing some traveling for stuff, and what have you been up to?
Well, I think last we spoke, I was about to, or I don't even know if I was about to embark in the play, or if I even.
We did talk about a play.
Oh,
yes.
Okay, yeah. So I did stage work, which was incredible to just be in a live setting performing.
Yeah.
It was incredible. Just the energy, and the character that I got to play was so deplorable and disgusting, and it's so. I would say, right, far removed from who I am. That
I hope that's true.
I mean, I don't want to say, oh, I'm a great person,
Sure.
but I'm pretty sure I'm better than this dude that I played. So it was fun to just be someone so completely kind of out of my character, and again, just performing live was awesome.
I bet.
So there was that, and then I just shot a film that is for a fellowship for Ride Back Rise, which the CEO of Ride Back Rise, who's now the CEO of film at Netflix, started this fellowship for filmmakers of color. And
cool.
Again, I got to play another villain. So I'm like, everyone's like, you're stepping into your villain era. I'm like,
I was literally, you took the words right out of my head. I was literally thinking the exact same thing. Villain era.
I'm here for it. I gotta tell you, like, I've been having a lot of fun doing it. Yeah. So
that's good.
Slasher next. I don't know, yes. So I've been that was the last project. I did another project in between that, which was another fellowship for Walmart. And it was another fellowship for directors of color, which is awesome because it's just opening the doors for a lot of young directors or up and coming directors that are already just on the cusp, and I've gotten to work with just some incredible talent that's just that's
awesome.
I'm gonna get to say, like, I worked with them one day. So
and they're going to say the same thing about you. They're going to be like, I did work with him.
Thank you. I appreciate that, and I hope they do. Or they're gonna be like, "Oh, I worked with that guy." No.
I find that hard to believe. I don't think that's going to be the case. Yeah, I love that there's things like that, because we need that. Like, that's actually one of the reasons, like, and Steve's the same way. We're both these huge advocates for indie filmmaking, because indie filmmaking is where you find the representation, where you get these new voices that in the mainstream are not given opportunities for a very clear reason, right? And so this gives all of these, whether it's actors and actresses, writers, directors, producers, concept artists. I mean, the list goes on when it comes to filmmaking, but just these filmmakers opportunities that they wouldn't maybe be given in a bigger sense, because they're always going to go with, these other people, this other group of people. So I love that there's stuff like that. And that's one of the reasons I think there have been times, not exaggerating, the last several years, where when I've done like a top 10 for the year for horror, where the indie films are just knocking the bigger names out of the picture completely, because they're better. And they're more unique, and they're different. And like I said, the representation matters, and you get to see all of these different stories and things play out in different lenses that in, the mainstream, you're not getting an opportunity. So I think that's awesome that you get to work with things like that. That's cool.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it's awesome. And like, just to kind of piggyback on your point, I think that one of the best and most inclusive genres is horror.
Yeah.
And I love that. You know, that it's and the it's just it just seems so very open to just everyone and everything. And you know, it really hit home with Horror in the High Desert, Firewatch, of how much so that it really is. And so, man, I'm just falling deeper in love with horror, like, by the day.
Good. That's what we like to hear. That's what we want everybody to say.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. I love that. And I feel like we've obviously supported, you know, white filmmakers as well. Like, we know plenty of indies, but it's been some of the best conversations about horror, whether it's from an author standpoint, a filmmaker standpoint, whichever. Have some of the best conversations have been with people of color, where talking about their experiences and their journeys and the things that they get to create, and it's an incredible thing. I love to see it. It makes me very happy.
Awesome. And thank you for giving opportunity. Like, even just for me, you know, just being in this space, like, you know, being able to talk about my craft and and horror, and so, and you know what I mean. So it's very much appreciated. And it's not like, oh, let's you know, it's just I think we just want just a seat at the table, just in general. And so it's appreciated when it is given, and it's something that, you know, the horror community just as a whole is just so loving and inclusive.
I love that. I'm so glad.
It's definitely, you know, something that I want to continue to explore in my career.
Good. I love that. Yeah, it's a great genre. I mean, we definitely have some bad apples, right? But I think for the most part, the community, especially the one that I'm a part of online, is super inclusive. And it's for people of color, it's for all genders and sexualities and belief systems, and it's huge. Like, it's always just constant support, no matter what, you know, your perspective of life is. And I love that. I think it's definitely a reason that I cling to the genre so much as well, because it's just not like that in some of the other senses, right? It's really nice to see. But yeah.
Very
cool.
awesome.
So I always do this at the beginning. I always think about the list and how many of these have been on here. And I think only 2 of your 5 have been on the list, have been on this series before.
Really?
So 3 of the 5, definitely 2 of the other 3, but there may be 1 that's been on here and I'm not remembering, but I think only 2 have been on the series before. So
okay. Hey, brings a different perspective.
Yeah, so it should be good. I mean, it's I love when there's stuff that, because I've been doing this series for like 2 years. And so for it to still be getting ones, you know, that like aren't, you know, so it's pretty cool. So oh, and for anybody who's wondering, of course, Marco's links are in the description. Easy peasy to find. Just go below and check him out and go follow him. And if you are super late to the party, please, for the love of God, go watch Firewatch. It's available. You can rent it and support indie horror. Do it. It's so good. You will not be disappointed. And if you haven't watched the other ones, start there and then work your way through to get to Firewatch. You will not be disappointed. Okay, cool. Well, we'll jump into your list. So the first one that you had is one of the ones that has been on here, but just recently, which I think is bananas. And that's The Exorcist.
Wow. That's wild. That for the first time, huh? Not too long
ago.
Yeah,
it's new. It just, it's crazy. It's weird. Cause you would think this one would be on like.
Yeah. Do you think it has like that Godfather effect where like in a lot of circles, people are just like, well, I'm not going to mention the Godfather because obviously.
Oh, maybe. Like, I don't talk about Blair Witch when I talk about found footage because duh. Maybe.
See, so maybe it's something like, because to me, The Exorcist is just on that level. Like, to me, when I saw The Exorcist, I was like, whoa. Not only is this like a horror just masterpiece to me, but just as a film through any genre, I mean, it's an incredible film. Yeah. I've never been so scared. Oh. And I was a skeptic at first, like with horror. Like I was like kind of those people that go to a comedy show and are like, make me laugh.
Oh yeah. Oh
Make me laugh. Let's see if it's true. No, you know what I mean? So with horror, I was like, and no, yes, I probably didn't sleep for a few days after that.
Yeah.
So it really, in the way it influenced me was it showed me, just like, from my perspective as an actor, filmmaker, like, oh, this is what happens when people like really take the genre and kind of, I don't want to say elevated because I don't think that's the correct way to say it, but maybe like just the strokes are just so beautiful. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
sets
a
itself apart,
film.
right? It's like on like a pedestal.
It's on a for me at least, it's definitely on a pedestal. And it really ignited my love for like satanic horror.
Possession horror.
Possession horror is my favorite. It is my favorite.
Yeah, it's so good. It's one of my favorites too. And because I'm such like a found footage junkie, if it's found footage and possession, I'm like all the way in.
I'm gonna need a list.
There's some good ones. I'll send you a list. There's some good ones. There's some not good ones, but there's some really good ones that fall under possession. Yeah, I mean, The Exorcist is one of those films too where I think it not only influenced a lot of people, but it's influenced the genre because it kind of set the bar. I mean, there's definitely possession films that exist before The Exorcist, but this definitely brought it more mainstream. It really kind of pushed the boundaries because there's a lot of controversy around this when it came out because of what it was about. And it's not, honestly, it's not just a demon thing. It's like, oh, single mother. Oh my God. Like it was a lot of stupid stuff too, but it's a very scary movie. There are scenes in it that even to this day, in the middle of the day, if I think about them long enough, I will freak myself out. Like the cross scene, the going down the stairs backwards. I'm like, ugh, freaks me out.
Those are my two favorite.
They're so good.
Favorite in terms of like, those were the ones that like really were like just ingrained in my brain after watching it, because I'm just like, she didn't do that with the cross. No.
Oh my! And then she takes her mom's face. I'm like, oh
yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Push the boundaries.
Growing up Latin, there's a lot of Catholicism around me. So
that
also added like an extra level of like, oh my God.
I can only imagine. Yeah.
And so pushing those boundaries and saying like, well, there's no limits. And then if you like just really, take it seriously and make an amazing film, it could be out of this world horror movie. And that is what The Exorcist is too. I mean, I think for me, it's probably in my top 5 films of all time. Is probably
So did you bother to see the new one, Believer?
I did.
And what did you think?
It's tough because
well,
it's tough for
I
me
agree.
The viewer, because the first one is such a classic. I'm not the biggest fan of remakes and or origin or
continuations or
not always. Sequels are awesome. I love sequels. I don't know if this was considered a sequel. It was like,
it is. I think it's a continuation, but the problem is it's really a reboot for the franchise. So it's a weird technicality, I guess. I don't know. It certainly felt like a remake because they definitely clung or tried to cling to too many things and really didn't branch out. It was very, it just, to me, it felt like a reboot. It didn't feel like, oh, we're adding to this, right? It was like, I mean, you're using the same effects. Like you still stuck like I would love to see an Exorcist movie with the name Exorcist that dives into like other belief systems around demonic possession. Catholicism is not the only belief system that believes in demonic possession. And so they started to do that in Believer, and then they just went straight back into the Catholicism. And I'm like, I get it. That's like the root of it. That's like the most known, but it's been done so many times. I would like to see other cultural takes of demonic possession under the Exorcist label, because it's a worldwide phenomenon. It's not just limited to Catholicism.
I really like that idea. I think that would have been, very much so. And it just didn't hit for me. Like it just didn't hit for me.
No, me neither. I went to theaters to see it.
Me too. Yeah. I was like, and I was very excited. I honestly, when I saw the trailer, I thought the trailer was very well made, and I was very excited about it. And but I was just not as enthralled. I mean, I just didn't think even the original effects were just better to me. Just it wasn't for me.
I'm with you. I don't think it was for anybody. That's why it's in new hands now. They David Gordon Green's not going to be doing the other two movies, and now it's handed over to Mike Flanagan to do on his own. So if anybody could help it, I think Mike Flanagan could probably help it. So
Flanagan,
he's so great. Yeah, like he's brilliant. And so we'll see, but I think he could take it in a unique direction instead of just copy paste kind of thing. So
but do you think Reagan will still come into this?
I kind of hope not. I say that only because I think this is just the way I feel about it. I think to bring that story back is setting an expectation that might not be plausible. Like you're setting yourself up for people to have expectations because of this one element, and everything you do around it is going to be judged on that one thing. Like one of the things that irritated me about The Deceiver was the mom character being utterly useless. They introduced her as this like badass, right? Like, did you think she was going to come in and kick some demon butt? Because I definitely did. And that's not what happened. And it was upsetting and irritating. And it almost made it worse that they had her in it at all. Whereas I feel like maybe that part wouldn't have been so frustrating if they had left it out and just gone a different direction. So it's risky. It has to be done very calculated, I think, in order for it to work for nostalgia fans and people who know and love the original.
I think that's a great point. I think having the mom in there did kind of add a level of expectation.
Yeah.
And they kind of set themselves up for a failure there because it just, the story for me wasn't there. So like to have her there, you're expecting
something cool.
Right.
Like because she's already done this before. Like she's going to come in and she's going to own it and she's going to tell you what to do and she's going to fix everything. And then she was like a throwaway character. And I'm like, why? Why would you bring in a legacy character and then throw them away? I don't understand. So it just frustrated me because I think it genuinely could have been at least a little bit better. There were other things I didn't like, but I think it could have been a little bit better if they had just stayed away from that story and just done something totally unique.
Absolutely. And I think one last point on that is the original is still so transgressive. Like even still now, I think if you put that on, people are like, whoa. But this one didn't push like to the next generation of like, oh, whoa, they're really taking it to like the next level. And if you're not going to take something to like a next level type of thing, I would prefer maybe just leave it alone.
Leave it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's one question for you, if you don't mind.
No.
Do you prefer Exorcist 3 or the new Exorcist 0?
Oh, 3 is great. I love 3.
3 is awesome.
3 is great. I had to rewatch them all recently. Why did I do that? I guess it wasn't recently. It was last summer because in the summer we do horror franchise lives where we have guests come on and we break down like specific horror franchises, and Exorcist was on the list for last summer. And we ended up spending almost the entire live talking about 3. Like once we started, we just did not shut up because it was me and a couple other friends, and we were all like advocates for Exorcist 3 and just talking about him. No, so I love 3. 3 is so good.
It's underrated, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. It's 100% underrated. I feel like recently, at least since like the whole like Believer thing happened, more and more people are kind of coming out of the woodwork about it, because Shudder did, what is it called? Like 100 of the scariest moments, or the scariest moments in horror or whatever. And one of them was the hallway scene in The Exorcist 3. And that was in that. And then I felt like since then, people are like, oh yeah, I love The Exorcist 3. And I'm like, you haven't been saying that this whole time.
Right. Yeah. Hindsight 2020, always.
Yeah, it's the same thing with my other one that drives me crazy that I love so much is Season of the Witch. Halloween 3 is one of my favorites. It's my favorite of the Halloween franchise, even though it's not a Michael Myers movie, but it's my favorite of the franchise. But you used to couldn't say that. Like whenever I would tell people I love that movie, they would be like, oh my God, that movie's garbage and it's so awful. And they're just mad it's not a Michael Myers movie. It's not bad. It's got Tom Atkins in it. He's great. Like, anyway, so I think it just takes time for people to appreciate things when they're not 100% what they wanted it to be. It just takes them time to come around. So I love Exorcist 3. I think 2 is awful.
Yeah, 2's
bad.
Yeah, I was not for 2, but 3, I was with 3 for sure. Yeah.
No, 3 is really good. I love 3. Okay, cool. Well, yeah, Exorcist is a newer one that's been popping up on these conversations, but originally, like, nobody had that on their list, which is crazy.
Wow. Well, I think maybe I went with the obvious, but it is a wholeheartedly one of the most influential films I've ever seen. So
yeah, no, for sure. Yeah. And I actually think I'm actually very curious about the next one that you have too, because this one has not been on here before and it's a heavy hitter, which is Get Out.
Yes. That has never been on here.
No, this is the one I'm like 95% sure. I don't think I've had, maybe one person did Get Out, but I can't remember if it was Get Out or if it was another Jordan Peele movie, but I think it was Get Out.
Okay.
I think it was. So I think it may have been on here one other time, but I'm not 100% sure. Either way, I don't get to talk about it enough because it's, a lot of, if it was on a list, it would have been like one of the original ones I did, which was 2 years ago. So haven't had a chance to talk about it since then. So.
I mean, where do we begin with Get Out? It's just, every time I watch it, like I find new things. The sunken place is real to me. Like,
oh my God.
But just the social commentary mixed with the horror, that for me is, I mean, that's like my happy place right there, because I'm entertained. I feel, kind of, I don't want to say seen, but it's like, this like is saying something and it's amazing and it's hitting every mark that a horror movie should. Yeah. And it's creating dialogue, which for any movie to do that, it's insane. It's insane. And
it's a very bold, needed to be made movie, I think. Like it's and it's things like so Get Out is one of those movies I feel like when you talk to other people about it, it's like you were saying, when you rewatch it, you notice things. It's the same thing when you talk to people about it. They'll say something, it'll click for you, and you'll be like, I didn't even think about that. Like one of I was working in a corporate office when this came out, because it's a little bit older now, but I was talking to this guy at work about the movie, because I was like, oh, I finally watched it, because he asked me if I'd seen it. And I was like, I hadn't seen it yet, and I finally watched it. And we're talking about it. He was like, oh, and he's like, and they have like, there's the scene where there's like all the white people are gathering for their little thing. And then there's like this one Asian guy there. And I was like, yeah, I know what scene you're talking about. He goes, it's because like Asian people to white people are put on a very different pedestal. And I was like, I have never thought about that. I have never in my life thought about the fact that there is with people who think this way, with people who openly are very racist, or even people who keep it in but are, they don't categorize anyone of Asian descent in the same way that they do people who are, obviously African American, or anybody from anywhere else. Like it's I've never thought about that before. And I was just like, because he's the only person that's not either the white people, right, or the people that they're doing the weird brain swap thing with. And so it's like, I never, like, I was just mystified because it covers so much, and it's not, I wouldn't consider it subtle at all. It's very in your face in the best ways, though.
It's crazy because now it's clicking for me, because that is 1000% true. You know what I mean? Like, or it's a narrative that is out there that it's not, because, I can't honestly speak on it, but I do know that is a narrative. And like now thinking back, oh shit. So I'll probably be watching Getting Out again in the next few
and being like, oh.
yeah, like, what else can I find? But those are always the best movies that when you watch it, every time there's new things that keep popping. And it could be like the 100th time you're watching and you're like, oh, whoa, okay. And the other great thing about Get Out is the performances. The performances are just insane. Kaluuya is an amazing actor, just period. And in this, he's just, I mean, he really broke out onto the scene with this one for me. And has just continued to ascend, and bringing that level of acting to the genre, I think, is awesome. And so I think that for me, as like when I write or any projects that I want to be a part of, I always try to find the ones that are entertaining, but also have a message that's just underlying there, because it just adds that, like, the more layered that something is, obviously, like, that's why we keep finding new things in this film, is that that's what makes amazing films. And so to have it in the genre, to have it say what it says, and have it also be, I mean, I was scared. I was freaked the fuck out too. Like,
I was too.
Yeah.
And they're like, there's these moments too, because on a first watch, you are trying so hard as a viewer to figure out what is happening. Like, is it because there's obviously the hypnosis element. This movie's older, so I apologize if this is spoilers for anybody, but it's been out for a while now. But it's like the hypnosis thing, it plays into it, right? But you're like, it can't just be that. There's got to be something else. And so when as the story, obviously as the movie goes on, you get more of the story, you're like figuring out, you're like, what in the actual fuck am I watching? Like, because, but in the like in such a great way, because you're just like, you just spent the whole movie stressed out, uncomfortable. And then you get this reveal of like what's actually happening. And you're like, there's just no way. There's no way. Because that's like, this, oh God, it's so good. And I gotta say this too, the specific line where the dad says that he loves Obama, he would have voted for him a third term. It's like it's like the equivalent of the people that are like, oh, I can't be a racist because I have Black friends, right? You're just like, that is not how reality works. And so when that happened, I couldn't help but laugh, because I knew exactly what he was representing in that moment.
Right. Yeah. That's great. I love what you said about being uncomfortable. Yeah. Because I think that's also something that is in the genre that, makes great horror. You know what I mean? Like, you don't pull away from the moments where you're like, the camera doesn't pull away from these moments. You yourself as a viewer,
like, maybe. You know
what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, those moments, those uncomfortable moments, those moments of like dread of like, oh, can this be like, I don't want to feel this way. It conjuring up those feelings.
Yeah.
I mean, what else do you want from like, I mean, that's what the best art does, music, paintings. And so for it to be, you know, in film like this one, for me was not like groundbreaking, but just what we're here to talk about. Influential. So influential.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. It's a great film. And it's the performances, like you said, just, I mean, you forget when you're watching it that it's not reality. Like it's such an intense, and then to kind of piggyback off what you were saying about this concept, like the way that these films can make you feel sometimes is like, and I'm sure you felt the same way. This was a type of discomfort that didn't go away from the moment that they get there to her house or to her parents' house. There is this distrust that you as the viewer carry the rest of the film. It never goes away. And so, like, you know, you have movies that do like what I consider like cheap jump scares. There are some jump scares I do not categorize as cheap jump scares because they linger after they're gone. But then there's those like loud music, loud in your face noise, and then you're over it. Like once that happens, you're like, good, you're fine, right? But then there's like ones where like in this, when the music intensifies or the guy's like running at him when he's outside, like these moments build up. And you're scared.
Scary moments too, when he's just running straight from just, oh my goodness, yeah. Lakeith
So
Stanfield with the, you know, he's like slipping out of the
oh my God.
Like, get out of here, get out, get out.
Yeah, that was so crazy. And then like he sees him later, you know, after they've like fixed him, as they call it, like they've like made it better. And he's like, he like apologizes, and you're like, you have got to get out of this house, bro. You cannot stay here. Like you have got to go.
It's what a way to like come onto the scene for Jordan Peele as well as
no kidding. Away from comedy. Yeah.
A sketch comedy guy.
Yeah.
And it's just like, well, that I think was another like cool part about it. It was like, it almost felt like it literally just came out of nowhere. Like, what the hell?
And now he's done like, but I will say, I do think so. I feel like he got kind of the mainstream treatment because of all the work he had already done. And I think it's a testament to like, you know, he absolutely worked for that. I would never say otherwise, but it's so hard for like what we were talking about earlier, people of color to break into things and into genres, even horror, when they haven't done horror before. And it's like, it's a prime example of like, he didn't really start in horror, but he was able to work up to doing it. But it took, you know, having all of this other stuff in the background that he's already done comedy wise for him to be able to get, you know, to work on things like this. Like and then obviously making the production company, and then he's done several movies since then, but it's so hard to get more mainstream horror like this, like what we were talking about earlier. And it's so like, I was an immediate fan of him when the trailer for this came out. I thought it looked good. I was like, oh, this is going to be heavy. This is going to be good. But then I was like, Jordan Peele, I know that name. And I looked it up and I was like, oh no, you know, I was like, I think he's super funny, but I'm finicky about comedy and horror. It has to be like the right balance of things. And I was like, is this going to be comedic? Like, what am I getting into? Right. And I walked out of that movie like, I will watch anything he touches, anything he does. I'm in.
Yeah. And I think you're making a great point. Like, not only like people of color, but in the industry.
Yeah.
When you're known for one thing.
Yeah.
No matter what, who you are, if you're known for one thing, it's very difficult.
So hard to break out of it.
Get into somewhere else and kind of like be accepted, or, you know, people just be cool with it. And I think that this film was so good that you just couldn't even deny it. You couldn't even be like,
no.
Well, it's Jordan Peele. No. Like, this is incredible. Like, whoa, Jordan Peele, you had this in you the whole time. That's
crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. Yeah.
But I do love, just coming from comedy roots myself, that he made that transition, and just goes to show like how diverse some artists could be, you know.
Yeah. And I knew that from when we had talked back when we did your filmmaker interview, and I can see the tie-in for that, because it really was like, I was very nervous about him doing horror. I was like, oh, but he's killing it, and he's giving other people opportunities as well that might have been rejected from, these bigger production companies, and I love that too. Like, I'm here for it, honestly.
Absolutely, me too.
Yeah.
Shout out Jordan Peele. He's listening right now.
All right. Why not? Let us know if you want to come on the channel, Jordan.
Huh?
I said, let us know if you want to come on the channel, Jordan.
Yeah, right.
We'll pencil it in.
We'll try to schedule you in.
That's right.
His ears are ringing. He's like,
yeah. So your third one, I know for a fact, has never been on here. I say that, I'm now second guessing myself, but I'm pretty sure that's right. And that is The Ring.
Ooh.
Does that surprise you that it hasn't been on here before?
It does.
Yeah.
It does surprise me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Does it surprise you?
Kind of. I mean, I don't even think the other one, the original Ringu, has even been on here either. And I would say that I would have expected maybe at least one of the two, right? So yeah, it's kind of surprising a little bit, I think. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yes. So I watched The Ring before I watched Ringu, and I was definitely, by all accounts, like the original was very like beloved, but I think I like the US Ring better. I like the Naomi Watts Ring.
Yeah, I think the American made one is scarier.
Yes, exactly.
The other one takes so long for stuff to happen. And it's not that it's not cinematically incredible, right? Like, I appreciate it. I respect it. But yeah, the American one is better in my opinion as well. It was more, I guess, like, I think it felt a little like faster, and it just got to the scary stuff a lot faster overall. And I really, yeah, I agree with you on that.
And I mean, I watched this, I don't want to say how I don't remember how old I was, but I was a little older, and I was still on that like, I don't scare easy type thing, and I did not expect to even freak out when I watched this. And that feeling, I just had a weird feeling for a couple of days after watching it. And I remember seeing for the first time when the girl comes out, I forgot who it was exactly, came out with their face, she had just seen the tape.
Yeah.
It freaked me out.
Yeah, it was pretty scary and gross.
It was so well done. The tone of the film, the color palettes. That's what I think is kind of different. The ones in Ringu, kind of the makeup and stuff just didn't like creep me out or freak me out like the American one did.
Yeah.
But I will say that finding out that this was Asian Japanese horror, then it started making me like curious about Japanese horror, and kind of delving into that and finding,
which is good.
I mean, Asian horror. There's a lot of like South Korean.
I was just about to say that, and even more recently, I discovered like Taiwanese horror that's like super good too. Okay. It's like, I was just about to say South Korean though, because I think like the one that always, and it's, of course it's found footage, I can't help it, but like Ganjiam Haunted Asylum is like one of my favorite found footage movies, and it's terrifying, and it's Asian horror. Like it's so good, it's so scary. They just, I don't know, like they just do horror better. I actually, honestly, most other places do horror better than the States. Like I saw what was the other one that I thought was just I couldn't believe was so good was The Bone Woman. That came out. It's I forget what it is in Spanish. Hesera or something like that.
Oh, was it Hechicera? Hechicera?
It's like H-E or Huesera or something like that.
Kind of like witch.
Yeah, I think. So it's like, so that one was so I was talking about it like a couple of days after I had seen it, and talking about it like got me scared again. I was like, this movie was so good. But then I watch like American made horror sometimes, and I'm like, oh, come on, man. Like you're missing the mark. So I'm with you on Asian horror being like next level. Like they push limits, I think is more what it is. Like they just dive into things, and they're just better at some stuff, like or better at that stuff than we are. So anyway,
yeah, there's something I don't know, like Train to Busan, or or The Audition. You know,
Audition's a good one.
Yeah, films like this are just like,
yeah,
they don't hold back. There's no punches pulled on those films.
No.
And yeah, so I would say that The Ring in that sense was influential to me. Like it opened up my eyes to a whole different, like, you know, country of or subset of films. Yeah. You know, it's I guess for me it was easy to just kind of fall into, before I knew better, before I was surrounded by awesome people like yourself that would be like, oh,
yeah,
you gotta watch this, you gotta watch this movie, you know, like kind of opened my mind a little more to world, you know, films around the world. It was easy for me to just fall into what was kind of being fed to me. And so
I understand.
This opened that door to kind of be like, oh, it was okay, let me go and kind of explore this horror world over here, and
that you didn't even know. Yeah,
I didn't even know. And I love that when film kind of like does that, like it opens up a whole new thought process, or it opens you up to different genres or different filmmakers, different, you know, countries of films. And so that for me was The Ring, aside from it scaring the shit out of me.
Fair enough. Yeah, fair enough. Like so my like Ring story was the first time I ever saw it. I think I was in middle school, maybe. And I was at a sleepover, like for a birthday party, like a big group of girls. And we watched this. And this was back when like landline, you know, nobody had cell phones. So the big thing was if you got to have like your own phone line, right? Like if you were, you got to have your phone. And so we finished the movie. We were like terrified. We watched it in the dark, the whole nine, right? So my friends whose house it was, her parents called her line after we watched this movie. And her mom, who is Korean, I think, did like, which is just ironic considering that this is an Asian horror film in essence, but like obviously we're doing the remake. So she's on the phone, and we don't know, they're in their room with the door closed. We're thinking they're asleep, right? And she does the whole 7 days thing. And when I tell you we screamed, we were so scared. We were like 12, maybe 13. I'm pretty sure we're like 12 years old. It scared the shit out of us. We were like, we screamed and screamed, and they're just laughing and laughing. But we're so scared. It took forever for us to connect that they were the ones that did it. We're like, why are you laughing? Like, we're all going to die. And like, you know, like we're like so scared. They're just laughing it up. But yeah, it's such a great film. It's a good one.
That's freaking awesome. I hope you thank them for giving you that experience.
I know. I probably should have. Yeah. At the time, I was angry.
Well,
but yeah.
Was sleep happening at that sleepover after that?
No, I'm pretty sure we stayed up till the sun came up. And then we all have to go home to like our separate rooms, right? Where we're like by ourselves. And I don't remember specifically if this one lingered like long after that, especially once we realized it was her parents messing with us. But it lingered for that night. The whole energy of everything just like ceased at that point. We were like, this could be real. Like it was scary. So yeah.
Yeah. I think, now that like just even talking it out, I feel like this theme of like that residual, like weird, like feeling that sticks with you. You know what I mean? Yeah. Mark of a great horror film.
It is. Yeah. It's important. It's something that changes the experience, because sometimes people, and I'm not quite like this, like I can watch a horror movie and not be upset that I wasn't scared, because I think horror works with all kinds of other genres. And I think, like you can watch something like Abigail and laugh and have a good time, but you're not scared, but it's still a horror movie, right?
Right.
But a lot of people will walk out of horror movies and hate it because it wasn't scary enough. And so I think like it's a testament to what you can do with intentionally scary horror when you can make something that happens and it's bothersome, but then the viewer like can't stop being bothered or stop being scared, or that, like you said, that lingering kind of feeling. It's a testament to great filmmaking, because I don't know that I think that's an easy thing to do. So I mean, yeah, it makes for really great filmmaking.
Absolutely. I agree with you. I mean, making a film period is very, very difficult. So like to even make
I'm sure it is
resonates, and then like, and also like something that you take with you after watching it, even if it's for a couple hours or a day or two, like that's incredible. Just an incredible feat. So yeah, I guess that's, I mean, to me, like now that I just said, like just talking it out, I'm like, oh, okay, like there's a theme here.
yeah, it is.
So may I ask, now that kind of like to what you do, to your point of not being scared at a horror movie, did you watch Maxine?
So I haven't seen Maxine, but the reason is because I never saw X. And I didn't see Pearl because I never saw X. I haven't seen any of those.
Got you.
And it's some of it is thematically, it's not usually things I'm interested in seeing. I'm not super into slashers. I'm not like into like sexploitation type things. It's just not really my wheelhouse. I respect the hell out of what it's done community wise, because people love those movies. But I think X actually we just did Steve's influential, which is weird because he's been around forever, but we just did his influential I think this past month, and X was on his. But yeah, I haven't seen any of them yet. I will probably eventually cave and watch them for the sake of watching them, but I have not seen Maxine.
Gotcha. Interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah.
But it's not, well, now I don't want to say anything because then it's going to spoil. It's gonna even the question kind of had like a spoily tint to it. So I apologize for that.
No, it's okay. I think I'll probably get to it eventually. I just I get very limited time to see things. So I have to prioritize the things I know I'm probably going to love. And so I tend to miss out on some of the other stuff that I'll watch eventually. I just didn't get a chance to prioritize it. Like I'm really hoping, I don't know for sure yet, really hoping to go see Romulus this weekend. Like really want to go see it.
I'm so excited for that.
Yeah, I'm excited for that one too, but I don't get a lot of like opportunities to go. Like my kid is 6 years old. So like I don't get a lot of opportunities to just like go to the theater, right? And so it's hard for me. So I just have to pick and choose the things. I'm like, I am going to make it happen. I'm going to go see this thing. Like Long Legs, I prioritized going to see Long Legs. So I was able to go see that in the theaters. So we'll see if I'm able to go this way. I'm going to try really hard to make it happen this week because I do want to see Romulus, but I'll get to Maxine eventually. I know it's
down the way, but I understand you like what you like, and you gotta
yeah.
You watch what you like, and eventually you get to the other stuff.
The other stuff. Yeah, it'll
still be there.
Yeah, like I loved Abigail, and I knew I was gonna love it, but I couldn't watch it till it was on. What was it, Peacock? I think so. I had to wait and watch it. That kind of stuff. It just depends, but. I just have to prioritize it very differently given, whatever timeline I have to work on, watch stuff. And like now, because we're all in the same house, we play like video games with the big kids at night. And, there's like, it's just a different balance of finding the time to watch stuff. I watch a lot of horror movies at work.
Nice.
But it's not always the same experience, which I'm sure as watching it on like a TV or whatever, right? It's a tiny screen. It doesn't always have the same effect. But that's okay. I mean, you do what you have to do, but yeah. So we actually touched on this a little bit earlier with the coming from the comedy side of things. And so this one I know also has not been on here before, and I think is really going to be fun to talk about, and that's a Scary Movie.
Yes, I love this movie. I kind of, when you said that there hadn't been any, a couple that were on there, I was like, I bet it's Scary Movie.
Yes.
Yeah, but I think Scary Movie is awesome because it was the first, because I had not watched Bride of Frankenstein or anything like that. So I had never really seen the melding of comedy and horror.
Yeah.
And I love parody. I love snarky, satire, and I love the Wayans. The Wayans to me are and again, I mean, hey, listen. I love that it's two black dudes coming into the genre and just like just shaking it up.
Over. Yeah.
It's hilarious to me. I mean, I still laugh watching it. So
yeah.
It's not easy for a comedy, especially when you already kind of know like the things that are coming up or you've watched it a bunch of times, like to still laugh at the same moments. And it's silly, but it's fun. And I love it. I love that movie. Yeah.
Yeah, they got a little too much for me after a certain point, but I think the first and the second one is the one that's mostly making fun of The Haunting, right? Where they go to the mansion and there's like the main like the ghost is the guy from The Haunting. And I thought that those two, like I think I quote two probably the most.
Okay.
Like I must have walked around saying, nah, I mean, like a million times, right? Like you just say it all the time, even when there's like no reason to say it. You're just like, you got to find a reason because it's too funny not to say. And so it has not been on here before, surprisingly. I don't know that a lot of horror comedies have actually, but this is a good one, I think, to add to the list.
Because like I was saying earlier, like because of my background and because I love comedy, it is just really cool to see it in this genre and done in this way. And it kind of brought up a lot of like cool ideas for me in terms of like what can be done in the genre with comedy.
Yeah.
So I love that tongue-in-cheek stuff in any genre. So again, never seen it in horror, so it was like cool. Okay, like I see what you're doing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how much like horror purists like really loved it, or if it was like really.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that because I mentioned earlier when it comes to like comedy and horror, they do tend to go very well together because they're both revolved around timing. Timing is what makes things scary. Timing is what makes things funny, right? So it's like a good melding of two things that come from the same whatever. But the problem I have is that sometimes the comedy overdoes everything else. And so like it's hard. I'm very particular about the balance between the two. But so like I have a friend of mine that does a podcast and he does like double feature shows where you talk about two movies that are similar. And every time he asks me to come on, it's always horror comedies. And I can't believe how many of them he gets me to like. And so like one of the ones that's like one of my new favorites, it's like a comfort movie for me, is Werewolves Within. Have you seen that?
I have not.
It is a horror comedy about werewolves. And when I tell you it is a fucking riot, it is hilarious. Like it's a super funny take on small town werewolf horror.
Say less. I'm in.
It's so good. I think it was on Hulu. I think it's streaming somewhere, but it's such a good, it's hilarious. But I was surprised that I liked it that much because it's a comedy horror, but I've rewatched it like 10 times probably since I saw it originally. I loved it so much. First of all, I'm a massive werewolf fan. And so I was just like, this is going to upset me. Like, it's comedy horror and it's about werewolves. I'm going to be so disappointed. And it had me within the first 15 minutes laughing my ass off. And I laughed the whole movie. But it's also got some like really intense kind of build up to like werewolf scenes. It's got some really good body horror in it, but it's just such a funny movie. And it's like that's like my standard now for like comedy horrors. But I think there's like a subcategory of that for parodies, because parodies aren't just comedy horrors. They're like kind of more on the goofy, silly side of things, which is not necessarily a bad thing, of course. But yeah, and this started like a revolution of these. There was like a bunch of other ones that tried to kind of mimic the Scary Movie formula, and I don't believe they were as successful at it.
Yeah, I don't think so. And I'm very much like with what you were saying about I only liked the first two, and I think that after those, I think the Wayans brothers only did 2 or 3 or something, and then
they weren't in all of them, and then it got like really off the rails.
Yeah, and then it's just it was too much. No, I'm more with like the first one. Second one I still really liked. But I do get what you're saying about the horror. Yeah, it's like more silly. There's not like but I guess I was when I watched it, I was just like in that world. Like, I dude and like
yeah.
And so when I saw it, I was just like, "Oh, this is funny. I like this." It's
you
fun.
can like cut your brain off, right? Like you can just, it's in a genre that you're interested in, but it's in the thing where you can just like not do anything, or just like just hang out and just listen to it and watch it, and it doesn't have to be. You don't have to start analyzing stuff. You're not trying to figure stuff out. You're not super scared. You don't have to worry about incessant jump scares. You can just watch it and enjoy taste of the genre while also laughing. It's a great mix of things.
Yeah. So it was cool. Like, it just opened your eyes to what can be done. Like, how to take a different approach into horror and again, like the Wayans brothers, they're not known for horror at all. So to have it, but I like that they brought their goofiness to it and kind of made it their own. So that was like the influential and cool part about it.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about Werewolf in Paris?
I like that one. I think
what's your favorite werewolf movie?
My favorite, okay. This answer is subject to change depending on when I'm asked.
I'm not gonna hold you to. I will hold you to.
So I think my favorite, like if I have to say like one I would just rewatch at the drop of a hat, one I always enjoy, one that I just always tell people I love, is probably 1985 Silver Bullet. Ooh. The Stephen King adaptation, which is also slightly a horror comedy. So there's this scene. This doesn't give too much away because it's small town and it's werewolves, but this isn't a huge spoiler. But there's the owner of the bar in the town has this bat that sits over the bar, and it's called like what's it called, like the Peacemaker or something cheesy like that. And it's like, if you act a fool, he'll get the bat down, he'll hit you with is essentially the thing. Well, they go hunt the werewolf, and there's like this huge fog. And he goes in, he has the bat, he goes into the fog, and there's like this scene, and I'm telling you, I laughed so hard every time I watched this stupid scene. He lifts the bat up and he comes down. Well, the next time that it comes up, it's the werewolf holding the bat, and the werewolf comes up and then comes down. And it's just these very subtle moments of comedy in the middle of these like really but it works so good for an 80s movie. It's so good. I love Silver Bullet. more like newer ones. There is this Asian horror. We are just talking about this. There's this Asian horror film called Howling Village that is basically essentially a weird werewolf movie.
Ooh, I like weird.
But it's like, I will tell you, it's not heavy werewolf action. It's a lot of story. But I personally felt that the payoff was extremely high. My partner, who's not super into horror, loved it. Thought it was so good and weird and different. And so I feel like it's got to be a good balance of some things, but the story and the kind of historical things that they bring up in it, and it's just really well done. And that's one of my more like modern favorites, like newer because that came out in 2021, I think. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
So it's relatively new. Yeah, but Silver Bullet's I love that movie so much. It's such a dumb, fun werewolf movie. And it's because I think werewolves are, they don't have to be taken too seriously, obviously, but I also don't know that you can always just make them funny and it works either. So, but that's probably my two. An older one that I've been watching since I was little, and then a more modern one would be Howling Village.
They're on the list.
Your list is going to be super long after this conversation.
Sorry?
I was saying your list is going to be super long after this conversation.
I know. I was going to say, do y'all have lists on your website of
recommends?
I mean, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Or I could just hit you up on Instagram.
Yeah, just message me and ask me. Yeah, I've got you probably for most things. I love werewolves. Werewolves are like I have a charity anthology that's coming out in September. That's a werewolf anthology, but it's a charity to raise money for wolf conservation. So
oh wow.
Yeah, that's big werewolf fan.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Yeah. We need more werewolves in horror. There's not enough of them. And I feel like werewolves peaked in the 80s and they just like never come back into the full swing of things. So we need more of it.
I'm down for some more werewolves. Yeah.
Yeah. If you watch Howling Village, for sure you have to let me know, because it's definitely weird, but it's good.
I'm a big fan of weird. I love weird. I think weird is oh yeah.
Spoken like a true horror fan. I love weird.
Yeah, I mean, come on. Everything that's great is weird. So
it's true. It's true.
Including ourselves.
I know, I was gonna say including people. For sure.
But that's really cool about the
anthology.
For wolves. That's really awesome.
Yeah, there's a wolf conservation in Salem, New York, which is actually like not even 30 minutes, I don't think, from Steve. And yeah, they have like live feeds where you can watch the wolves that they have. And but there's a werewolf artist I follow on Twitter is where she's primarily active, I think. And she volunteers with wolves. And so I had reached out to her when we were going to do the anthology and asked if that was, one we could donate to. And she actually said, yes, but there's one in America. She lives in a different country. And so she's like, there's actually one in the States that I think could benefit from this more. And she works close. She knows the people that run that one and stuff. And it's the one in Salem, New York. So that's the one that's like gets the proceeds of whatever we make for the books.
Awesome. Very cool.
Some really unique werewolf stories. I was very impressed because that was the challenge, was make it different, do something different with it. And the indie horror community, they rose to the occasion because there's some weird stories in here, but they're good. They're all very good.
I cannot wait. I cannot wait. Yes.
Yeah. Very cool. But yeah, I have no idea how to segue into your last one because it's such an iconic one. I don't really have like, I'm just gonna let it speak for itself. So your last one, Night of the Living Dead.
I'm not gonna lie. Like when I first started watching this, I was like, I kind of like just the way it was. I was like, wait, it almost kind of feels like a found footage
Yeah, shaky cam, kind of.
Yeah, like
weird angles.
I think it's the best one of all. I mean, I just love the scrappiness of it. I love just the passion that you could feel from watching it. Like this, well, and it. I guess I'm being like super obvious because it sparked this humongous like movement, and still to this day for me the best zombie film and franchise for sure. And so I wasn't necessarily scared at this one, but more like enthralled by the story, the lead. I mean, can we talk about the lead in this time? You know,
it's a huge statement. It's statement horror. I was just thinking, I was looking back over, and we've talked about this with several of these movies, actually. Like this was statement horror. Like if you look at having a black lead at the time that this movie came out, that was not a thing. And to even go as far as to have him, again, if this is a spoiler, this is in black and white. I got nothing. I don't know. Watch it, you know. But for him to go through this entire length of this movie, this adventure, this story, to get to the end, and what stereotype takes him out? Come on, man. You can't tell me that's not on purpose. Like it was just like, because that moment when he gets shot, you're just immediate gut wrench, like immediate. You're like, this is not happening right now. You know, huge statement horror, huge.
Absolutely. And I think like, you know, probably some inspiration for like movies like Get Out and so again, for me, statement horror is the best, especially when done like this. And I wasn't mad at, you know, the effects or lack thereof or anything like that. Well,
sure, because it's like before there were effects.
I was bought in the whole way, which goes to show a lot of things, right? Like if you have the like passion behind it, you have a great story, and you execute it, you know, with love and care, you can have something, no matter what the limitations are, you have this incredible, I mean, iconic film. And so I mean, how much more influential can you get? I don't know.
No, you're exactly right. I was thinking, because I have a friend of mine that is a big fan of Shaun of the Dead. And so like I don't remember why it came up. But somehow we were talking, and she was like, she finally watched this for the first time like in the last year or so, right? And so, which is fine. It doesn't matter to me when people to discover it, as long as they discover it. Like at some point you got to watch it. So because it is iconic. It, like you said, it spurred this entire subgenre of zombie horror. It is the godfather to that subgenre, if you will. And so she was telling me, she watched it, and she was like, you know that line in Shaun of the Dead where they're like, we're coming to get you, Barbara? She's like, I finally get it. I was like, I can't talk to you right now. I was like, because she's seen Shaun of the Dead like a million times. And I'm like, that's why her name is Barbara, because it's Shaun of the Dead, Night of the Living Dead. Like, it was so funny. But it was so funny to get that message from her of like, oh,
yeah.
I'm like, it's literally one of the most iconic horror lines of all time. People who have never seen this movie know that line. Like, and she just was like, I didn't even realize.
Which is another thing that, you know, it becomes part of like our of society, you know, of culture. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like these lines and everything. You're like, I love Shaun of the Dead, by the way.
Oh, so good.
I think I just saw that this is like the 20th anniversary this year.
Oh my God, don't say that. Really?
They're releasing it. They're re-releasing it in theaters.
Oh my God.
Yes, I know.
That's not good.
Not so.
I'm like 20, because The Sixth Sense and Blair Witch both celebrated 25 years this year.
Wow.
Yeah. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I remember seeing The Sixth Sense when it was brand new. I'm like, I don't like that at all. 25 years?
That is
Anyway.
wild to think about.
Yeah. No,
Well,
for sure. Huh? What'd you say? I said, what did you say? It cut out for a second.
Oh, I said you just made me sad because now I'm thinking of how long ago that was.
Yeah, I'm not happy about it either. I assure you. Like, I have a co-host that does another show with me who is substantially younger. Like, definitely, I don't think he's even in his 30s yet. And he seems older because he's like an old soul. He watched a lot of old horror and stuff. And so sometimes he will like find ways to like jab at me on accident about the fact that he's so much younger. Like, we did an episode on conspiracies. We talked about the Y2K conspiracy. And he was like, well, and he didn't mean anything by it. He was like, but you probably remember that. And I was like, why do you have to say stuff like that, man? Like, you couldn't have just left that alone. We didn't even talk about the fact that I remember Y2K.
Like, you're not wrong, but you didn't need to bring it up.
I know. What purpose does that serve, you know?
Oh, like, where's the Y2K horror movie?
Huh?
Where's the Y2K horror movie?
There should have been one. The people around me believed really crazy stuff when Y2K was going on. They thought that all technology would be affected and therefore like cars wouldn't work anymore.
Oh,
like,
wow. Okay.
There was some crazy stuff. Like, my parents didn't believe it at all. They never really gave into it or whatever. But I do remember we normally had like super fun stuff to do for New Year's. Like, we did sparklers, we'd go outside and watch fireworks from the neighborhood, or, you know, drink Welshes because I was too young to drink real alcohol and stuff like that. But I do remember that year was a quiet New Year's because there's always that this is probably bullshit, but just in case it's not, we're gonna play it safe, you know.
Exactly. That's what I was gonna say. Like, we're all like jokey about it. Like, yeah, it's all gonna end. Everything's gonna turn off. And then, like, secretly, I think we're all like, fuck, but what if it does? Oh shit.
What are we gonna do if this is real, y'all?
Seriously, yeah, there was that like, oh, I hope this is like just not bullshit, but it could actually be true. I don't know.
We don't know.
Yeah. So,
but yeah.
Yeah. Y2K coming to a theater near you.
You could always make that happen. You could do that. You make that project happen.
I mean, now that's what I'm saying. Now I'm thinking about it. Like, whoa, it's never been done. You know, a little now that would be like a period piece kind of.
This is so long ago, right? Yeah.
But Shaun of the Dead, just going like is one of those going back to like the comedy. Yeah, I felt like that one had like a really good balance for me.
I also agree with that. I do not think that it's straight comedy. I think there are moments of intensity, like, and it's there's moments where you're genuinely worried or fearful for the characters. Like, no, I agree. It's a great balance.
There was some cool gore, I feel like, too. Like, they did some cool, yeah.
No, it's super good, and it's funny in a way that just works. Like, I laugh. I actually love all of those movies, not just Shaun of the Dead, but I love all of them. But that one is because it speaks to the horror side of things. Like, it's just so much fun, and it's like heart-wrenching. Like, when his mom dies, I'm like, I get sad every single time that happens.
Yeah.
Like, it's very, very, very heartfelt comedy horror. Like, it's very strange. I don't know of another one that really tackles all of that in that way and does it that well. That one does it very well.
Absolutely, I agree with that. Yeah, so I think I'm gonna go check it out in the theater when
you should. That'd be cool.
Because I think I saw it on DVD originally. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. DVD. I'm not aging myself at all.
If it makes you feel any better, I still have a combo that plays DVDs and VHS tapes.
Nice. You know, it's gonna come back. Like, people are like,
you know what? I hope it does. I have these actually these are my that's Ghostface, but I have these found footage movies that I had custom made.
Oh, whoa, that is awesome.
but they actually play.
That is freaking cool.
Yeah, when he told me the price, I was like, that's a lot. But then I had a friend of mine that ordered them before I did from the same person. And he was like, no, he was like, Angel, like they play, like they work when you put them in the VHS player. And I was like, you are shit. Well, fine then, just take my money, you know, like, but I have Monster Project, Apollo 18, and Savage Land. They're all found footage movies.
Dang, that's cool.
That's cool, right?
You pop them in from time to time?
I need to. I just found my thing when we got settled here because it was in a box because I hadn't used it in so long. I need to though because it would be so cool. Like being like, I'm just gonna go watch Monster Project or Savage Land on my VHS player. Like what? Found footage in VHS?
Yeah, nostalgia OD right
Oh
there.
my god, yeah. So yeah.
That's the one only good thing about moving is sometimes you find stuff that you forgot about. You're like, oh snap, that's right.
It's true. Yeah, I'm hoping it still works because I haven't used it in a really long time, but we'll see. It probably does. It probably still works. VHS players were like indestructible. It was the tapes that were problematic.
It was the tapes, yeah.
No, for sure.
The little flip lid on top and
on the edge of it.
The film, yeah.
You're trying to like push it back in so it'll still play, and it's totally messed up. Like never gonna work again. You're like, maybe if I just
yeah, I was like, no, it's a yeah. I honestly think that it's gonna make a comeback.
I hope it does, especially because places like Best Buy and stuff aren't selling physical media anymore. Like it's getting harder to find physical media for certain things, and then they're like changing movies and endings to movies, and then if you don't have one from when it was first released, then you don't have that ending or whatever like ever again.
Or even on streaming, I've been having this conversation that you could buy. I think we may have spoke about this when we spoke, but you buy something on streaming or whatever, and if that streamer decides to take it off, you lose your.
You don't have it anymore.
Yeah, so it's like, I think that is gonna be a big thing, to have the physical copy, and I think it'll be kind of like the records, like record players and records are kind of like making this resurgence.
They are. I have a friend of the channels that just recently started doing videos about collecting vinyls all of a sudden, and I'm like, what? And I'm seeing videos of this is super cool if you've never seen them, how they make them.
Oh no,
they take especially the ones that are like brightly colored or like multicolored. Oh, it's super cool. They take this weird looking some kind of putty or something and they mash it all into whatever, and then they just put it in this thing that just like flattens it and pushes out all the excess, and then it goes around a second time and cuts it. And that's like how they make it's so neat. But I see them pop up on like, I don't know, like Instagram or TikTok sometimes, and I'm like, why are these all of a sudden popping up everywhere? Like that's so random, but it's cool. I didn't know that's how they made them. It's super neat.
No. Yeah, no, I had no idea either. I got to check that out because that sounds really cool.
Yeah.
But I think, everything has this like moment to come back, and it would be kind of cool to have some. You even see now they're promoting like some movies with the I think they sell the VHS. I don't know if it actually plays, but like for instance, they had like a VHS thing that they were kind of pushing.
That's super cool. Yeah, I have fake ones for what is it? Blair Witch, Creature from the Black Lagoon, Jaws, and You're Next. But they're done like they look like the old ones from like Blockbuster. So like they're those black ones.
Oh yeah.
But it was a mystery box. So like it wasn't a tape, but it would have like other little horror trinkets and stuff in it. And you just pick which movie casing you want. It's super cool. So I'm all about the VHS revitalization. I'm here for it. Yeah.
Bring them back.
Bring it back. Yeah. I'm here for it. Yeah. Well, cool. Well, that is pretty good for 5 movies. I think only 2 of them have been on here before. Maybe 3.
That's
definitely
cool.
Not all of them. Definitely not all of them, which is a big deal.
I didn't expect that. I thought I definitely, yeah, no, I didn't. I really didn't, but that is pretty cool. I will take it.
Yeah. So it was The Exorcist, Get Out, The Ring, Scary Movie, and Night of the Living Dead. Yeah. Very cool. Well, thanks again for agreeing to do this. This was super fun as always. So it's just like last time. Great conversation.
I always have an amazing time talking with you, and I would do it and for this, or if not for this, or whatever, just keep in touch.
Yeah.
I do need a recommendation list, I think.
I'll work on it. That is my promise to you, Marco, star of Horror of the High Desert Firewatch. I will get that. I will make it happen.
I'm just giving you more work.
Yes, I can handle it. I think though. I think I'll definitely hit you with some regs for sure. Because I mean, yeah, especially on like the we talked about so many things. I've got all kinds of branches I can go with. So
yeah, no, I mean, listening to you speak, I'm like, whoa, I could learn like so. I know some, and I have other, I have family members that are staunch like horror fanatics who put me on as well. But but I love finding, these, I call you all horror encyclopedias that I could like, just, it's like, watch this. And I was like, oh, dang, that's crazy. Yes. Okay, cool. I never heard of it. Awesome. And it's just like the list keeps growing. And so, if you have an extra few minutes,
I can make it happen. I think I'm fairly confident I can pencil it in somewhere. I'm sure.
Awesome. I appreciate it. And honestly, I appreciate you having me on, and also like being such a cool supporter of Horror in the High Desert. Not only Firewatch, but all of them, because Dutch,
of course.
Dutch is an amazing person and an awesome director, and I love what he's doing. And so, thank you for that.
Of course. Yeah. It's super meaningful. And, not just to me, but to Steve as well. We huge advocates of indie horror. I mean, in anything we can ever do to support you, you just let us know and we'll be there in a flash for sure. For sure.
Awesome.
And, for the millionth time, you guys go follow Marco and go watch the horror in the High Desert. If you haven't seen them all, go watch them. You will not regret it, and you want to be in the know for when there's another one, because I think I'm pretty sure he's already said there's gonna be another one. So, so you definitely you want to be up to date for when that one comes out. Hopefully, he doesn't have as hard a time with release next time. Hopefully, it's a little bit easier.
Yeah, I know.
Not as stressful.
It was. I felt bad for him. He was definitely like just just the unknown, and he was getting a lot of people asking him and
pressuring. They're like,
we want to watch this. I think he felt a responsibility to everyone to like have it out, and he felt bad that he couldn't.
I'm sure he did, and he had no power over it. Yeah. We talked about that, I think, in our review when we did it initially, because we did a spoiler free because it wasn't out yet. And I think we talked about that fact that like he just doesn't have any power over it. And yeah, it's good to show support for films as long as you're, being mindful of the fact that like you don't want to seem too bully, like, you don't want to be pushing like, like, when is your movie coming out? When is your, like, he would also like it to be out. You know what I mean? Like, you have to have like you can post about being excited about it or promote the other movies, but like, hopefully people are mindful of that. And just kind of respect the process and the fact that like his hands were completely tied, and they may be for the next time too. So we'll see. But anyway.
But hoping all the best for the next one coming up. And if you haven't watched the other ones, please do check them out.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. Well, I think that's going to wrap up this episode of Influential Horror. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. We hope you have a good rest of your week. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll see you in the next one.